Hello, Carolina Catholic family. This is David Papandrea, founder and chairman of Carolina Catholic Media. Please join us during our 2022 Catch the Spirit Pledge Drive season, starting with Giving Tuesdays and culminating with our 36-hour Sacred Heart Share-a-thon, June 22 through 24. Your pledge will help us better plan and allocate resources to evangelize the truth of Jesus Christ across our 7 media platforms in the Carolinas. Every dollar raised goes back into the Carolina Catholic operating and capital expense budget to grow our apostolate. When you consider the state of the world and the extraordinary times that we're living in, with a cancel culture, unprecedented media bias, mistruths, and disinformation everywhere, it's clear why Carolina Catholic Media is here. Our mission is to communicate the truth of Jesus Christ and the Catholic Church to over 5 million souls in the Diocese of Charlotte and upstate South Carolina. With that comes a commitment to create diverse local programs from our parishes, schools, and ministries. Our vision is to bring everyone together as one unified Carolina Catholic community. Carolina Catholic Media is a 501c3 nonprofit. Your financial gift is 100% tax deductible. To sponsor or donate, please email me at feedback@carolinacatholicradio.org or call me at 800-857-2909. That's 800-857-2909. We appreciate your prayerful consideration to support us during our Catch the Spirit Pledge Drive. May God bless you abundantly.
This is Carolina Catholic Media Showcase with your special host, Pam Cullen.
It is my pleasure to introduce to our Carolina Catholic audience Father Edward Looney, internationally recognized Marian theologian, writer, speaker, and radio personality. He is a member of the Mariological Society of America and serves on its administrative council. Father Looney is the author of the best-selling books A Heart Like Mary's and A Rosary Litany. His writings have also appeared on the pages of Catholic Digest and online at Alatea and Catholic Exchange. Father Looney was ordained a priest for the Diocese of Green Bay in June 2015. Now enjoy hearing from Father Looney about his newest book, How They Love Mary, 28 Life-Changing Stories of Devotion to Our Lady, from Sophia Institute Press. Hello, Father Looney. Welcome.
Well, great to be with you, Pam, and to talk about the Blessed Virgin Mary.
Super. Well, take it away.
Yeah, so this book, How They Love Mary, has been a book that was in the works for a very long time. Essentially, I wanted to write it about 5 or 6 years ago and shopped it around to different publishers, the idea, and nobody really was favorable to it. I was new to the writing industry and publishing and whatnot, but over time, Sophia came to really enjoy my style of writing and agreed to publish it. So back in 2019, I actually started a podcast of the same title, How They Love Mary. Now, the book has nothing really to do with the podcast, except that I take the title and develop this kind of what you would call a thesis, I guess, that I show how each person loved the Blessed Mother. You mentioned there are 28 life-changing stories, and these stories are of holy men and women. Many of them are saints. They're saints you know of. They're saints like Saint Padre Pio or Saint Damien of Molokai, Saint Francis of Assisi. Mm-hmm. But then there are some unknown people as well. And basically what I wanted to do was I wanted to do a survey of my own spiritual life, my spiritual journey, the people that I've encountered, who I've read, who I've written about, and some of them are unknown people. And I wanted to introduce them to a wider audience. People like Mother Mary Francis from Roswell, New Mexico, or Father Lucas Etlin, a monk of Conception Abbey in Missouri. So essentially what you'll find is what they wrote about Mary, how they were devoted to Mary, different expressions of Marian devotion, really a challenge then to try to love Mary like they did.
Beautiful. What a great book. I thoroughly enjoyed it myself. What I'd like to know is who has had the biggest influence for you with this particular endeavor?
Yeah, I think you asked that question this year, the answer is going to be different than if you ask it next year. But I would say definitely Solanus Casey had a very big impact on my own Marian devotion. He was one of the stories I wanted to include. In fact, it was when I was, it's kind of a funny little story, but I was on an Amtrak train going from Chicago to St. Louis to visit the grave of Father Daniel Lord, another person featured in the book. And while I was on this Amtrak train, I was reading the biography of Father Solanus Casey because he was going to be beatified later in the year. And I thought, well, it'd be nice to write about his Marian devotion, just like I had written about Father Daniel Lord, and presented a paper, published it, whatever. And so I'm reading this biography of Father Solanus Casey, Blessed Solanus, and two things really just struck me. The first was that Father Solanus was hospitalized. He had, problems with blood flow in his leg. It was possible they were going to have to amputate his leg. And that struck me because my mother was a severe diabetic. She had several toes amputated, and I knew inevitably she was going to have her leg amputated. So I thought, well, Father Solanus is going to be her intercessor. I'm going to ask his prayers.
Oh, wow.
So then I keep reading the biography, and I come across the fact that Solanus Casey was strongly devoted to a biography of Mary by the Venerable Maria of Agreda called The Mystical City of God. Solanus Casey would give these volumes away to people when they would come to the monastery. He was the porter of the monastery, and the people would come and they would say, Father, can you pray? Can you give counsel? And he would give counsel, he would promise prayer, and he would say, take this book and read The Mystical City of God. Now, some people would come back and they would say, Father, why isn't so-and-so getting better? And he would say, well, did you read from The Mystical City of God? And inevitably, people hadn't. So he had this great belief that coupled with his prayers and this book, The Mystical City of God, that people were going to be very touched and God was going to answer prayers through Mary's intercession. So I have my mother who's probably going to have her leg amputated. I had the 4 volumes of The Mystical City of God. I'm a Marian theologian after all. I never read them. I only spot read different rosary mysteries and things like that. So I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to pray to Father Solanus for my mother, and then I'm going to read every day from The Mystical City of God. Well, what happened was that I got to about page 150 and my mother dies. So I don't finish reading The Mystical City of God. And that was something that always bothered me, I guess. But I decided this year, I'm like, I need to revisit that. So in the spirit of Father Solanus and gratitude for his prayers in my own life, I have turned to him and also to Venerable Maria of Agreda. And right now I'm in volume 2. So this year I've been reading it. I've been doing a daily podcast, actually, much like Father Michael Schmitz or Father Roche. So I've been leading about 1,000 people now in the reading of The Mystical City of God. It's been very beneficial to me. And I think what it speaks to is that for me right now in my spiritual life, this is one of the main Marian devotions beside the rosary that I have incorporated into my life, spiritual reading the biography of Mary. But then next year, my Marian devotion is going to look different. But I think sometimes too, our devotion to Mary might become a little stale. You need a little refresher. And so I think we can look to these holy men and women to kind of rejuvenate and inspire our Marian devotion.
I love it. And is that why you chose Blessed Solanus to be in your book?
Yes. Yeah. Partly because I'd already studied him, but because I really wanted to share his story for sure.
Wow. It's great. And I love his quote, thank God ahead of time.
Right. Yes.
How many people think of that?
Yeah. And that makes for a nice Thanksgiving Day homily as a priest, but he always had this confidence that the Lord would hear his prayers. And so thank God ahead of time. It's a very beautiful spiritual maxim.
It is. It truly is. So how did you come to love the Blessed Mother?
Yeah. So for me, I would say that it really began with my grandmother. She was just a very pious, devotional woman. I actually lived with my grandmother. My mother lived with her. My mother and father separated before I was born. So I always remember Father Mitch Pacwa on EWTN and praying the rosary at 6:30 Central Time. And just seeing the images of the Holy Land, and then to be able to go to the Holy Land many, many years later and to see those same places that I saw on television. That was one witness. Another lady from my parish planned pilgrimages to different Marian apparition sites. And so she would always tell these stories. And I was just mesmerized by the story of Lourdes or Fatima or ongoing apparitions for that matter. So those are probably two pinnacle moments. I also live very close. I live in Wisconsin in close proximity to the shrine in Champion. And that always, in my teenage years, when I could drive, I would go to that site of Marian apparition dating back to 1859.
Oh, wow. I've always wanted to go up there.
Yeah, so it's a very beautiful place, beautiful shrine. Mary spoke a simple message about prayer for the conversion of sinners, going to the sacraments, and then teaching the children. But, what's an interesting thing is you can easily make it to Green Bay, Wisconsin. You could maybe get on a flight, fly here. You could drive here, depending where you live. You could make it a road trip. You could make it a pilgrimage. I think we often think about the big pilgrimages of Fatima, Lourdes, and all these different places in Europe, but we can make small little pilgrimages while we're here on the home front.
That's right. And travel's getting more and more difficult these days. Maybe just to do something locally or in our own country would be really valuable.
Yes, COVID has been a curse. Sometimes it's been a little blessing because I traveled to Spain last month and it was very troublesome to get in. In fact, I ended up flying into Portugal and driving into Spain. So it's hard to get into some of these places in order to visit the holy sites these days.
Absolutely. But Portugal is such a holy place too. The whole country is Catholic, basically. And of course, Fatima is there. And I think there's some other places too, but I know some people who just came back from there and the pictures were just unbelievable.
Yeah, it's a very beautiful place. And, the place can be beautiful, but even the story is better. When you learn about Francisco and Jacinta and Lucia, I'm just mesmerized by the fact that 3 little children prayed the rosary every single day. And you look at our religious education programs, our Catholic schools, if these 3 children who saw the Mother of God in 1917 could pray the rosary every day, well, what's stopping our schools, our parishes, our families from doing that with their children today?
Oh, precisely. And isn't it interesting how Mary seems to reach out to the innocent, not only young children, but just innocent people in general? She's drawn to those people.
Yeah, children principally have been the recipients of Marian apparitions. Of course, there have been adults.
Sure.
Juan Diego in Guadalupe, St. Catherine Labouré in Rue de Bac, the Miraculous Medal, and Adele Bryce was 28 years old when she saw Mary here in Wisconsin.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Well, your book has 28 inspirational stories about Mary. They can actually be read as a 28-day devotional to Our Lady. Did one inspire you the most? And if so, which one?
Yeah, of course, I shared a little bit about Solanus Casey. He was a big inspiration, of course. Right. But, there's so many and it's hard to choose. But I'll tell you this, the last one I featured, a Sister Teresa of Jesus Quevedo. I was having lunch with someone and I was saying, I'm a priest. I have a lot of men saints and I really need a few more women. And this woman that I was having lunch with, Meg Hunter Kilmer, happens to be a very strong expert in unknown obscure saints. And so she said, oh, you should read the book, Mary Was Her Life, and it's a biography of Sister Teresa Quevedo. And I said, okay, well, sounds like a nice title. So I guess I'll read it. I read it, and I'll tell you, it was a marvelous biography. And this nun, I tell people that I think she loved the Blessed Mother more than all the people on the earth combined, that she had such a beautiful love for Mary. And I'll just say one more is Aloysius Schwartz. He was a priest. He wanted to be a missionary. He served in Korea, and just the conditions he served. I read that biography, and it was very inspirational to my own priesthood. And he had a great devotion to Our Lady, especially one of her apparitions, Our Lady of Bonneau, called the Virgin of the Poor, which is a Belgian Marian apparition.
That story was very powerful. Following each what you call lesson, you have suggestions for how to love Mary, which augment each story in a very meaningful way. Tell us about this.
Yeah, I think it's recommending, like we can read something, but it really should do something for us. Like we
Mhm.
should put into practice what we've read. And so there are just little suggestions like this is how this person loved Mary, and this is maybe how you can do so in a very simple way in your life. I think this could be a 28-day devotional, it could be a 28-week devotional. In
Yeah.
fact, every week on my podcast, I'm releasing an episode on Monday, going through chronologically the lessons and interviewing someone who has some sort of relationship with the person featured. And I think just taking one person a week and saying this is how they loved Mary, and now I'm just going to try this week and see what it does for me, and if this is a Marian devotion that maybe I want to take on myself. Now you can't do every Marian devotion out there known to man, but you're going to find a few that resonate with you and that really are powerful. And they could be for a time. You might say, I'm going to do this for a month or 2 months, and then you're going to switch it up. You're going to do something else.
That's a great idea. And, people are always complaining they never have enough time, but you can just take little increments or little snippets here and there, and it'll turn into something I think very inspirational for people. If you are new at developing a relationship with Mary, our mother, or looking for a special book to add to your library to complement your devotion, which includes an exquisite list of prayers and litanies to Our Lady, this book is for you. How They Love Mary from Sophia Institute Press or your favorite Catholic bookstore. Father, how can a person begin a relationship with Mary?
I think you have to make that choice. So Jesus said from the cross, woman, behold your son, behold your mother. And so those words resound to us today. And Jesus says, will you behold Mary as your mother? And you have to say, yes, I want to do that. I think the simple Marian prayers are a good way to start. The Hail Mary, the Memorare, the Hail Holy Queen, maybe learning one of these chants like the Regina Caeli or the Salve Regina.
Beautiful.
Just some simple form of Marian piety. And that's going to introduce you to the rosary. That's going to take you to litanies. It's going to take you to this whole treasury of Marian devotion in the church.
So beautiful. Yeah, there is so much available, just being selective. Well, this book is certainly one of those. So what I want to say now is that, Carolina Catholic Radio, first of all, I want to thank you for taking this time with us. And Carolina Catholic Radio has been pleased to offer to our listeners this special interview with Father Edward Looney. His book, How They Love Mary, is available through Sophia Institute Press. And be sure to check out Father Edward Looney's podcast for passionate preaching, amazing music, and prayer. So thank you again, Father Looney. For the Carolina Catholic Radio, I'm Pam Cullen.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Carolina Catholic Media Showcase. For more information about this and all of our programs, visit carolinacatholicmedia.org.
Hello, Carolina Catholic family. This is David Papandrea, founder and chairman of Carolina Catholic Media. Please join us during our 2022 Catch the Spirit Pledge Drive season, starting with Giving Tuesdays and culminating with our 36-hour Sacred Heart Share-a-thon, June 22 through 24. Your pledge will help us better plan and allocate resources to evangelize the truth of Jesus Christ across our 7 media platforms in the Carolinas. Every dollar raised goes back into the Carolina Catholic operating and capital expense budget to grow our apostolate. When you consider the state of the world and the extraordinary times that we're living in, with a cancel culture, unprecedented media bias, mistruths and disinformation everywhere, it's clear why Carolina Catholic Media is here. Our mission is to communicate the truth of Jesus Christ and the Catholic Church to over 5 million souls in the Diocese of Charlotte and upstate South Carolina. With that comes a commitment to create diverse local programs from our parishes, schools, and ministries. Our vision is to bring everyone together as one unified Carolina Catholic community. Carolina Catholic Media is a 501c3 nonprofit. Your financial gift is 100% tax deductible. To sponsor or donate, please email me at feedback@carolinacatholicradio.org or call me at 800-857-2909. That's 800-857-2909. We appreciate your prayerful consideration to support us during our Catch the Spirit Pledge Drive. May God bless you abundantly.